Now, as I said, the ending to Revelations is perhaps the strongest thing it has going for it. It is very powerful, very punchy, and it makes use of the history the franchise has built up until that point to add to that weight. That said, I do feel it is important to point out that the big revelation at the end of this game, pardon the pun, was that Ezio was not destined to know anything about what was going on with the world. He was merely a conduit for Desmond. That was the big revelation. Which is a little undercut by the fact that is very literally how Assassin's Creed 2 ends. So, while this is a very profound moment where Altair and Desmond and Ezio were all meeting up in the same time and place, there is an underpinning of we've actually already been here before. Assassin's Creed 2 ended with Ezio being guided by Altair's Codex to a truth that was made for Desmond. And here, in Revelations, Ezio is once again guided by Altair for a truth that was only meant for Desmond. You are correct, Onyx. That is because the original script for Assassin's Creed called for a trilogy of games. Brotherhood and Revelation were not part of the original design or the original script. We'll talk a bit more about this when we do Assassin's Creed 3, because that is more relevant to that game. But the Assassin's Creed 3 we eventually got with Connor was in no way what the original script was supposed to be. Partly because it had Lucy in it. Lucy was Desmond's ally in that game. But because we only signed Kristen Bell for 3 games, we had to take care of that problem immediately. But there are other issues, like there are so many little things that start to weigh the series down because it extended beyond its intended scope. Now, I happen to like a lot of these Assassin's Creed games that came out after this. I like Unity. I like Syndicate. I like Origins. Odyssey, I don't have that same fondness for. But I liked a lot of those games that came in that stretch. I even like Rogue and Black Flag. I love Rogue and Black Flag. I am what you would call an Assassin's Creed fan. Probably. I don't know if I'm a fan of anything these days, but like at the time you would probably consider me an Assassin's Creed fanboy. But there is no denying that making all of those games not sticking to the original vision, pivoting, did come with some costs. And part of it we're seeing here with how Revelations is more or less a very middling experience, except for the start and the end. You get a lot of that in a lot of these games. There's a lot of like very middling experience here. You do get a lot of that, which becomes a problem because they had to keep making games year after year. They made even 2 in 1 year one time. They made Rogue and Unity. They made Rogue so they had a SKU for the previous gen, and Unity so that the new gen had a SKU. It's impossible even to separate Brotherhood and Revelations from what they ushered in, which is unfortunate, but also the reality. These two games exist because Ubisoft wanted to milk this franchise. There's no real way around it. There's no real way of getting around that fundamental reality. And there is good that comes from that. Like, a lot of those games were good. There's a lot of bad that comes from that because of how they chose to wrap it up. How they chose to pivot to this like living eternal franchise. It stagnated for a long time. And we see the start of that here. The start of it was Brotherhood, but its effects are first felt in this game. There's a lot here that just didn't need to be here. Kind of sucks to say it, but as strong as that ending was, it didn't go anywhere. It exists because they needed to bring Desmond back from what they did in Brotherhood. They needed to tie the room together because they untied it for Brotherhood. That is kind of the sad truth. And it's great that we saw Altair again. I love Altair. It's great that we like delved into that part of his history that most people don't know because they didn't read that book. But it's also like it comes at a cost, and I don't know if that cost was worth paying. It's why I have such a mixed opinion of not just Revelations, but the whole franchise afterwards. Now, I know what the script, like, we know what the original pitch for the Desmond-led Assassin's Creed 3 was. And frankly, I'm not sure it was great either. But it was at least... But at least the groundwork was laid for it. It's very similar. Yeah, these credits are gonna Ubisoft credits are like 20 minutes long, so we're gonna have to let them roll. And I don't believe you can. Oh, we can pause them, but we can't skip them. I remember Black Flag being 20 minutes, being like, yes. Black Flag's credits were insane. But I was about to say, this kind of reminds me in a way of Mass Effect. Because Mass Effect was very, like, famously we know that the ending that was what we got was not the original pitch. And I remember the dark energy and concept. I remember like the lead up, the seeds for that in Mass Effect 2. The dark energy ending. I don't think that was a good pitch either, frankly. I think the dark energy ending read kind of poorly. Arkham, another great example of this. Arkham Knight was... See, I'm of the opinion that Asylum was the best one of those games. I think City is good, but I think City is not as good as Asylum was. And I can already hear the pitchforks outside my door at saying that. Because, truthfully, if you wanted to do a Desmond, like, a Desmond third game that was just him in the modern day, you'd probably need to rethink the ending that they intended to have. But at least it would be consistent with the build-up that had been preceding it. Because 1 and 2 were developed with the idea that Desmond would be the main character in the finale, in the final game. Even this twist kind of implies that Desmond was going to be the main character in the finale. Which was stupid because they developed this knowing another team was making 3. They see that Desmond's going to be the big ultimate badass hero in this game when they know it's going to be Connor. One and 2 are the same team, Onyx. 1 and 2 are the same team. Patrice Désilets, who created the franchise, was part of the initial concepting for Brotherhood. But he left shortly after they went into production. So from Brotherhood and onward, whole different teams. Now, I don't remember if Brotherhood and Revelations are made by the same dev studios. I'm tempted to say they weren't, but I'm not 100% sure about that, and I'd have to double check on that. Revelations and 3 were developed in parallel. While one team was making 3, a whole separate team was making Revelations. That's why, like, 3 is a little more polished, so that it took 2 years to build. This was a game that was developed kind of as a filler, while a different team was making 3. Because Ubisoft was adamant about that yearly release cycle. So, that's also partly why this game feels so middling for most of it. It's because it was developed in a year. Even at the time, that was insane. Even Activision doesn't do this. Even Activision had their developers rotate. And they would each take like 3 years, but there'd be 3 dev teams working Call of Duty, so there would be like a consistent yearly churn, despite there being 3 separate teams. Ubisoft didn't quite get their production pipeline arranged in such a way that they could safely, comfortably do that for AC. Which is why this game has its quirks and flaws. The Odyssey team is making shadows. That doesn't surprise me. Also, like, we're at a point where, like, saying one team made one Ubisoft game, we all know that's not entirely true, because Ubisoft, like, distributes its game dev over, like, 20, 30 different studios across the world. So, like, even this game, even though, like, one team might be heading the overall project, as you can see from the credits, like, 20, 30 studios are all on the same project. True. True. And they are trying to unify Assassin's Creed more. They have at least realized some of the errors they've been making over the past decade. Watch Dogs. You know, I never actually got around to playing Watch Dogs Legion. I played Watch Dogs and Watch Dogs 2. And I was going to play Legion. I just never got around to it. There was always something that was like more interesting that I wanted to actually dive into. I'm glad the game is good. I just never got around to it, and by the time I was interested, it was already way too late. I just kind of moved on from Watch Dogs at that point. Which is a shame because I really like Watch Dogs 2. I thought Watch Dogs 2 was a much better game than the first one in many respects. We're gonna just quit. Its credits are too long now. We've now reached the point where credits are too long. Alright. Oh, I didn't mean to actually start this DLC. Fuck. Yeah, I'm not doing that right now. We're gonna do the Lost Archives next stream and then go right into 3. As you can see, I've already downloaded Assassin's Creed 3 here. We'll start that after we finish the Lost Archives. Hopefully it's not too long, because I can't stand the Desmond shit. But that is the plan. I'll see if Chris is down for the Lost Archives. If not, he can join in the Assassin's Creed 3 LP later. For now, thank you for watching. I am Brandon Carey. Peace. Bye, everybody.